Once he turns his video off, you might need to repin it when he turns back on.
But they're coming.
I still have it spotlighted.
Okay.
Welcome, welcome. We're so excited that you're here with us. As you come in, you will notice some reminders of how we are going to interact in this webinar setting, which is different than a normal Zoom meeting. So we want to make sure that you're looking at these slides as we get started. Again, welcome, welcome. We're so excited.
Welcome, everybody. We'll get started in just another minute or two. See if a few more people can join us. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. So Christina just reminded us of a few things on the screen. There's some quick reminders, but I'll go over just a quick list as well. So on the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll notice that you have the option for closed caption. So we have our ASL interpreters, L'Oreal and Christina, and then our closed captioner is also here with us today. So if you click on that closed caption, you can turn that on and off for yourself. So you can decide if you would like that to be there for you. Attendance is already taken, so you being here.
Amy, can I interrupt really quick?
Yep.
We don't have closed captioning going quite yet. So if you don't see that button, that's okay. It's our end and not yours.
Okay, sorry about that. Go ahead, Andrew.
Closed captioning will be coming shortly. As soon as it is, I will turn it on.
So attendance is already taken, so don't worry about, you don't need to sign in, you don't need to do anything special. Attendance will already be taken and pulled out of Zoom. The slide deck and the videos will be available. The slide deck will give you the link to that kind of throughout the day, so you'll have access to it. Videos, the video recording of this session will be available within about a week. We need to get it all the accessibility stuff figured out, make sure it's good to go, and then it'll be shared out. If you can use the Q&A, so we've disabled your video, audio, and ability to chat. Just because there's so many people in here, we want to make sure that we can kind of streamline our support. So if you can use your Q&A feature for questions only, that would be fantastic. And then lastly, we just want to make sure you all know that these are the live sessions, so the 3 hours, 1 hour each day. We also have an on-demand course that will be housed in Canvas that has a lot of the same information, but we just go into more detail, and that will be a self-paced. So if you're interested in that course, you can register for that as well. So you could potentially get 3 clock hours for this course, and then 6 clock hours for the on-demand course, and so it's for a total of 9. So if that's something you're interested in, check on PD Enroller and look for the Schoology on demand. Okay, I think that covers all of the just kind of updates. So this is day 2 of Schoology Professional Learning. Let's see. So just as a quick reminder, some of the slides today will be repeated from yesterday. That's just to make sure that you have all the information and links and things you need. But for some of these, we'll go over them a little bit quicker than yesterday. So just again, today we want to acknowledge that we're on the traditional lands of the first peoples past and present. We honor with gratitude the land itself and call to action to practice 7th generation thinking and caring for the land and people. I want to welcome my co-presenter, Christina. You also heard from Andrew Hickman just a minute ago, and we have some other folks from around the state here supporting with the Q&A and some of our posting links in the chat for all of you to access today. So thank you everyone for being here. And we'll Have a great day today. So the series outline, so yesterday we looked at the basics of accessing and navigating Schoology, and I will just acknowledge that yesterday we did actually end a little bit early. Some of that we did get through all of the content that we wanted to get to, but we also, in my mind, I just was thinking 11. So today we definitely have a lot to cover, so we plan on going all the way to 11:15 today. So part 2, so today we're going to look at really managing materials and resources that you will use to engage students in Schoology. So to do that, we just did some welcome and quick introductions. We're gonna really dig into organization of Schoology, looking at how do you add and manage content and materials. If we have time, this may kind of overlap with tomorrow. We're gonna look at resources and how you can integrate different resources within Schoology and what resources are available to support you even after these sessions. And then we'll look at some closing and next steps. So Andrew is going to launch a Zoom poll for us. So we just want to ask a few quick questions. So yesterday we invited you to do some exploration. So we want to see, did you have a chance to do that all the way to you're a rock star and you're really feeling ready to go? And then the second question is what you're most excited to learn about today. So Andrew, whenever you're ready, if you want to launch that for us.
Thank you, Amy. So we're using what's known as a Zoom poll. Now, how you do the Zoom poll is I have entered these questions and possible responses in a multiple choice poll that I'm about to launch. Now, it will pop up on your screen. You just need to click the responses that fit best with your answer. So once again, what are your exploration like with accessing, creating, and inviting others? So you didn't have a chance, you dabbled a little, you're getting there where it's starting to make sense, or you're a rock star. Number 2, what are you most excited to learn today? Effective use of learning management systems, organizing materials, begin planning, or understanding best practice. So what are you most excited for today? So please reply to the poll. We'll wait till we have most of you replying. I'm loving that it's only 30 seconds in and we've already passed 100 participants. That's one of the powers of this. Now looking at the data so far, we have 81% responded so far, which means it's popped up on your screen, you've clicked the buttons. I've noticed that about half of you didn't get a chance last night, which is okay. There's always gonna be more opportunity. Some of you were able to dabble a little, and we have a few, about 20%, who are really getting there, as well as you feel like you're rock star status, which means that you could help out in your district or your building. For today, Amy, they're most excited to learn the effective use of Schoology. That is overwhelmingly about 50% really want to know how to effectively use their learning management system.
That's great. I think we'll be looking at organizing materials, but within that we'll talk a lot about kind of maybe some best practices. How do you organize it so that it works best for you and your students?
Perfect.
So yeah, this is great.
I'll give about 15 more seconds and then I'll close the poll.
Perfect. And those rock star folks, those are the folks that you want to find out who are those people, and maybe you guys could collaborate together to figure out. It's always nice to have a buddy while you're doing some of this LMS planning and figuring out how it all works.
So I'm now ending the poll, and what I would like to do is share the results with our participants just to see what it looks like. Now that you've seen the poll results, we're going to try to make sure that we focus on especially effectively using the learning management system today, as well as which includes organizing materials, planning, and best practice. So thank you for replying. And Amy and Christina, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you.
All right, so if that poll is still up for you, there's a little X at the top. It might have gone away, but if it didn't, you can go ahead and close that for yourself, so it's out of your way. So let's just dig in. So just as a quick reminder, we wanted to, these slides will be available for you and have the links to all of these different resources. But just as a reminder, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but just wanted to include this again today. So thinking about universally designed for learning, so that kind of goes back to that effectively using your LMS. How can we make sure it's accessible for all students? Thinking about social emotional needs, and then culturally responsive teaching. So let's go ahead and dig in. So the first one to look at organizing your LMS. So yesterday we did talk a little bit about just kind of what you see, just kind of some general structures, but I want to talk a little bit more about what are kind of the nitty gritty of the organizational structure and layout options. So I'm going to go back into Schoology. And just as a quick reminder, I saw, we saw lots of folks were unable to get in last night, and that's okay. So if you're waiting for your district to set up accounts, or you just having some access issues, the videos for these will be available. So if it works better for you to just kind of watch and kind of start taking it all in, that's totally fine. So I've logged in.
Remember, those videos won't be available tonight.
Right. Yes. Good reminder. So when I'm in Schoology, so I have logged in, I'm on just the very first landing page. So if you are somewhere else, remember that top left button, mine says ESD 112, but yours might say Schoology or your domain. So if you click on that little button, you'll get to this landing page that has that recent activity and dashboard. So we did talk a little bit yesterday about if you're adding a course, how you can add sections. So if we go into courses, so I'm going to go to my courses so that I get the full page with all of the courses. So from here, I have my Schoology sandbox. This is that course that I created just to give myself kind of an area to play around. And this is a sandbox is just something that you can create for yourself. So a lot of people call it sandbox. You could do like a test class, or, you could name it whatever you want, but a sandbox is just a place to kind of play. In Schoology, you can create a sandbox and then you can pull resources from that sandbox to use in a class. So even if you don't have all of your formal classes set yet, you could create, if you have access to your Schoology account, you could create a sandbox and start creating content. So from here, just organization wise, I have section 1. So if I had like an Algebra 1 class, but I was teaching 3 different sections, I could add a section using this add section box. And I'll just leave it as section 2. So it's giving me a lot of the same information. I'm going to click grading period. So we're going to talk more about grades and grading periods tomorrow. So I won't go too much into that. But if I say create, I now have section 2 for Schoology. So one thing, that's how you add sections. Just a note, there is a way on, if your district has the enterprise version of Schoology, you can link sections. So linking sections just kind of attaches them all together while students are still separated by, class period or section or however you're describing them. So if your district has that domain set up, you can, if you go into the little settings gear next to a section, you can link existing sections. So that just means that if you're doing something in section 1, if you have them all linked, everything that you do in section 1 flows over into all of your other sections. So a nice way just to kind of minimize how much separate work you need to do in each section. There is a way, if you don't have the ability to link sections, don't worry about that. You can still assign assignments to multiple sections at one time. So you can still kind of get around that if you don't have the ability to link. I would just say that before you link sections, dig into that a little bit more with your district, or see if the district is kind of encouraging you to do that. There is some cautionary things with linking that you don't want to link or unlink after you've started. Like if you're a couple months into the year, a couple weeks into the year, it does some things with grading and assignments that could be frustrating. So if you're going to link sections, do that before anything starts, before you've added any materials and all of that stuff. So just kind of a cautionary note about linking, but it is there if that's something that your district provides.
Amy?
Yep.
I'm sorry. There's a question that I wanted to jump in with. A couple of people have said that their screen doesn't look like this and they want to know how you got there. I wasn't sure if that was Sandbox related.
Yeah, so it might be, it's so hard to tell without being there. So it might just look a little bit different depending on what type of account you have, what your district has enabled or disabled. But just so that, just to see if we can all get to the same page, I'm gonna go back and we'll get to this page again. So if I, when I first signed into Schoology, it should look something like this page. So you should have the recent activity dashboard and the upcoming. So to get to that, where I was just adding sections, if I go up to courses, I get this little drop-down box, and now you can see both sections of my sandbox. And to open up so that I can see some of those settings, I'm going to go to My Courses at the top right. And I should get a list of all of my courses and the ability to join and create. So hopefully that, if people are still having some issues, it might be because of, if it looks totally different, it might just be some of the settings in your Schoology account, but hopefully that helps.
And Amy, can I think of sections as class periods?
Yep, and that's how they default as section, but you can always rename those. So if I were teaching, like I said, maybe it's an algebra class, I can go in and edit them. So if I don't like the section 1, section 2, I can go in and say edit. And maybe I really want this to be period 1. So I can always rename, but that's because this is the overall class, sections are just how you, if I'm teaching 90 Algebra 1 students, periods or sections are just a way to put them into their individual classes.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so let's go into, I'm just going to go into that first section. I've just renamed it period 1. So to get back into the core of the course, I'm going to click on that period 1. And here's where I'm creating all of my content. This is where kids are doing their work. And this is where you put all of your materials for the class. So just to do a little bit of kind of navigation of here, Schoology is really structured mostly on folders. So you can see here, and we'll talk about how you add these, but in this folder right now, I have a folder for Unit 1 and a folder for Unit 2. So you could create folders for, you know, I'm thinking about if you're teaching elementary, maybe you have a folder for math and a folder for ELA and a folder for music, or however you want to structure that. But the folders are really the way that you're going to organize your materials in whatever way makes sense for you and your students. So within folders, you can also have subfolders. So if I click on Unit 1, and I wasn't very creative, but I just called it subfolder 1. So file structure is really like folders in Schoology. You can also see that you don't necessarily have to use folders either. So folders is a nice way to organize, but you could have, like you can see up here, I have a welcome page, and we'll talk about all of the different options that you have, and then an assignment that are not within a folder. So you can really structure this in whatever way makes sense to you, and you can also move things around. So to add content, you'll see if I just click on add materials and start adding something, well, let's do a discussion. If I start typing in, we'll come back to discussions again, but just so we can see where it goes. If I just add the material from this top list, it just goes at the very bottom of the list. So, and that might not be where I want something. So once you have content that you've created, if it's not where you intended it to go, I can click and drag this assignment to anywhere else within my file structure. So if I decide that I really wanted that within Unit 1, I can drag it up into the Unit 1 folder. So that little gray box is telling me where it's going to drop it. So if I want it within subfolder 1, I need to drop it underneath that subfolder 1. So I can click and drag things around. I can also, if you notice as I'm scrolling, kind of just rolling over these things, that there's a little green dotted line with a plus that shows up. So if I know, instead of just saying add material and let it just kind of go wherever, if I know where I want something to go, I can place it there right from the beginning. So if I know that I want something under subfolder 1, I can hover until I see that little green line. And when I click that little green line, I actually get all of the same options as if I clicked add materials at the top, but it's going to put it right where I want it. So just some organizational, just kind of tidbits. That's how you want to think about adding content where you want it, or reorganizing if it goes somewhere that you don't.
Amy, would you be able to show us where it says all materials? There looks like there's a little drop down there on the right-hand side at the top.
Yep.
Does that help me like organize, just see one thing?
Yeah, so if you're working on something and you say, oh, I know that I put together a discussion, but maybe I didn't make it, you know, once you have a whole like semester or a year or even a trimester of work, you're going to have a lot of content. So if I'm an instructor, and we'll talk about how you can turn on and off assignments, but if I have something that I know I worked on, but I don't want to have to search through, I can say I only want to see discussions. And now it tells me, here's discussion 1, you know, here's the other discussion I just created. And I can go into this assignment in particular and make some, see what students are working on. I could also edit this assignment. So yes, that little drop-down menu just kind of helps me sort based on type of material, so that it's just easier to access and find things. So yesterday we also talked about using the search bar up here. So just since we were just talking about kind of filtering, I could also search at the top here and look for if I knew what I had titled an assignment. If I knew that I had a get to know you activity, if I start typing, it'll filter for me using that search function as well. So great question. Okay, so since we're on this screen, there's also the settings wheel on the right. So any assignment, any folder, anything that you've added as content in your class, the settings wheel, if you click on that, you have some options. So you can edit the full assignment, unpublish or publish. When we'll add an assignment, and we'll talk about what this publish and unpublish means a little bit more. You can move. So we talked about you can drag and drop things, but you can also move using this move option here. So I would tell it where I wanted it to go. I can also copy to a course. So when you create an assignment, you have the ability to tell it which courses you want to go to. But if you find that, you know, down the road, you decide, oh, I want to reuse something from a different class, one of the ways that you can reuse is you can copy using the settings wheel here. You can also delete, and then you can save to resources. So again, save to resources we'll get into a little bit later, but if you know that you want to use something over and over, or just have available for the future, you can also save it using this feature here. So I'm just gonna go back to my slides really quick. We're gonna move on to the next section. So we're gonna dig into content and materials. So we're gonna look at how do you add materials and resources, discussions, and assignments. Some of the features that you will see as it pops up, we probably will not get to until tomorrow, but we'll just kind of see where we get to today. So when you add materials, so adding a folder is just giving us the overall, just somewhere to add things. So folders is pretty straightforward. So you can title it, you know, this is where you could say math, or I could say unit 1, or maybe it's a really specific topic, but you want to title it whatever makes sense for you and your students. You can also color code things. So if you're someone that, you know, if you've had a structure maybe in your physical classroom where you really like to color code things, and you have a structure that works for you, you can certainly duplicate that here. Description you'll see at the top, so you could type in, if you want a description, you don't have to, it's not required. So anything with an asterisk is required, anything without is not. You can also do some editing up here at the top. So just like a, you know, a Word document or an email, you can also insert content. So if you wanted to include an image or a link or something that, you know, you just want your students to be able to access or see, you can do that using that insert content. So a lot of this description, the features that you see up here, will be available in a lot of the different materials options that you have here. So adding an image adds that image in line to the text. So if I say, let's just see if we can do this. So if I attach a file, let's see, I have some kind of fun pictures here. So it's putting it, I can write above this image and I can write below this image. So that image will be in line of the text. So it's not an attachment, it's within that description. I can put a date. So if I want this to be available, so availability, right now it's going to be published. So something that's published means that your students can see it right away. So I can change this to unpublished. So if I'm just working on something, maybe I'm getting ready for even the beginning of the year and I know students are going to start being populated, but I don't want them to be able to access it until school starts. I might unpublish it for now, knowing that I can always go in and edit that setting later. I can also, if I know the date that I want them to start on, so if I know that school is going to start on September 3rd, I might say publish on start date, and then I'm going to pick September 3rd. And if I want a time, maybe I want it to be 8 a.m. So I can, all of this will be in here, it'll be ready to go. And on September 3rd at 8 a.m., it will essentially go live, if you want to think of publish as live or not live. I can also do, oh, yep, go ahead.
One of the questions I keep seeing in the chat is, can I use this file structure? So you're teaching them how to use folders right now. Can they reuse these year after year, or do they have to start over from scratch every time?
Nope, they can reuse them year after year. So we'll get into how to save resources, and you can save an entire class from year to year. You can save folders, or you can save individual resources. So let me finish creating this folder, and then maybe I'll just show you that real quick, since I know that's always a question that gets asked, just so people can see how that works.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. So the publish during date range. So this is where if you wanted to also end on a certain date, you can publish during a date range. So for now, I am going to actually leave this as, so I would put in an end date. I'm going to keep this as unpublished just because I want you to all to see how to just turn that on really quick once I'm ready. So again, not being overly creative, but we'll just call this Unit 3. It's unpublished, and let's make this one pink. Okay, so I have that Unit 3, and you can see that little picture came up. So a nice way, if you want to highlight something, pictures do show up in line. It also tells me down here that it's unpublished. So just, it's nice to be able to kind of see what's going on here. So we were just talking about saving resources. So if I go over across Unit 3 and go to this setting tab, I can save this option to save to resources. So I'm going to click on this guy. And the collection is just, you can start creating, when we go to resources, I'll show you this, but you can just save to one big, like the home folders, just if you save everything there, it's all just going to kind of pile up. You can also have subfolders. So if I knew that this folder in particular is Unit 3 for my algebra class, maybe I have a folder, I would have to create them in the resources area, but I could create a folder for all of my algebra stuff. So for now, I'll just go ahead and just save a copy just so we can see it. Okay, so it tells me even at the top that a copy of your folder has successfully been saved. If you're saving a whole course, so under options, under add materials, you can save the course to resources. So at the end of every year, if you want, especially if this is your first time using Schoology, you're going to be building a lot of resources, and you don't want to have to redo those every year. So at the end of the year, like one of your kind of to-do things for closing out the year might be to go in and save all of your courses to resources. So all of this stuff will be available. So if I go into, so now I'm going to leave my class and I'm going to go up to resources. And I won't get in too much into here because there's so much to look at in resources that we'll come back to this either at the end of today or tomorrow. But just so you can see, so I didn't make subfolders, so it's just in that, I had it selected to home, and I have unit 3. There's not a whole lot in there because I didn't create a whole bunch of stuff, but that whole unit, whatever I had in that folder, is now saved to this resources. And now I can add, if I go over to the right, I can add this to a course. So next year, if I said I was building this and I want this whole folder from unit 3 to be added to a new course, I could say add to course. And if I had a list of different classes, I can now select whichever classes I wanted to add it to.
Amy, since you're on that screen right there that you were just on, I think this might be a good opportunity to share that sections are only available in the enterprise version of Schoology and not within the free version.
That's a good, the sections, I believe in the free version, and this, if someone knows differently, please correct us. The free version, you should have the ability to do sections, but you won't have the ability to link sections together.
Okay, and I'll go double check on that in the back.
Yeah, let's double check just to make sure. Yeah. Okay, so we'll double check on that. If we find something different, we'll be sure to correct the record. So let's go back into courses. Again, there's a whole bunch on here that I'm sure as you're looking, you might have questions about. We will come back to resources. So I'm going to go back to, so to get back to my course that I was just in, I'm still building some content. So if I go, oh, I clicked on this thing over here, but if I go to courses and I go back to my sandbox, and I'm just going to keep working in period 1. So we've added a folder, and that's the one there's not a whole lot of stuff that you add in a folder. Just as you're creating the folder, but once you add materials, we're going to see all kinds of options. So I just want to go into a few of those, and you'll see a lot of the options be the same depending on what kind of content you add, and then some of course are different. So if we go to add an assignment, so again, I use just that overarching add material, so it's just going to add it to the end of the list. So here's where you have all kinds of options. So again, anything with an asterisk is required. I need to think of some more clever names for assignments and folders and such, but we'll just do, oops. We'll call it assignment number 1. So again, the description, most people tend to use description to, describe the assignment, but also if there's any instructions, things that you want to add. And if you look at the top, you can see all of again, this is that formatting tools. The little box with the arrows, how you can insert content. So again, if you have images, if you have links to things that you want to be within the text, maybe you want them to watch, if you've created a little video or something that you want them to watch, or you want to send them to YouTube. So there's some different tools here. You'll also see on the right, when we talk more about resources, we'll talk about how you can link like your Google Drive or your OneDrive if you're a Google or Microsoft user. So you can link things from different resources. You can do a table. So there's all kind of stuff here. If you're into, you can switch to HTML format, which don't worry about that. If you've never done that before, just stick with the visual. You can also minimize if there's too many options. So that little button there is just to give you more or less options. And then as we scroll down, it's kind of your typical what you'd want for an assignment. So you have a due date. So if you want to assign something, if you need to kind of have a cutoff date. So I'm just going to pick something. This box here is, it defaults to 11:59. So my suggestion is always just kind of best practice. I was always that student that waited until the last minute when I was in high school. So I know if I kept that at 11:59, I might have some kids that are staying up really late. So I might choose something like 7 so that I just so that they're not staying up really late trying to finish. And then I can change the point value. Again, tomorrow we'll talk more about kind of grade and gradebook, but here is where you can decide how many points you want to assign something. Categories, you'll create categories in your grade setup. So I've already created a few categories just so we can kind of see what that looks like. So let's say that this is a individual practice assignment. So I'm going to put it in that category. So the gradebook will do that for me, organize it for me. Grading period, this is one, and you'll hear me say it again tomorrow. Grading periods are really dependent on your district and what kind of version of Schoology you're using. So it's really hard to talk too much about this just in a general session like this, but you should have some grading period options. Yours will probably look something like if you're teaching a semester-long class, it will have the dates for that semester or say semester 1. Factor is how you can, if you say all of your things are worth 10 points or 100 points, but you want some things to be like weighted, factor is how you can change that. So if I really want this to be worth twice as much as other things, I can put a factor of 2. If I want it to be worth half as much, I could do a factor of 0.5. So it defaults to 1, which most people tend to just change the point value instead of the factor. But if that's something that you're kind of used to doing, weighting things differently, you can certainly use that factor feature. Scale and rubric, again, we'll get into more of the grading stuff tomorrow, but if you have different options here, this is where you could change it. And then learning objectives, we didn't talk about a whole lot yesterday. I mentioned that you can align assignments to standards. So if you're used to standards-based grading, you have some of that ability in Schoology. So if I click on align, I can now browse, I can search if you know that you're looking for something in particular, but you'll see Common Core and NGSS and then some other standards as well. So I could go into Common Core Math and I could search by grade level, or once you get into the secondary, you know, by content, and I could add a learning objective through this feature. So if that's not something that you're interested in doing, you don't need to use it, but it is there as an option. And these options down at the bottom is where you can do some kind of fun things. So this options, you'll see most of these on all of the different material options. So the first one is individually assign. So a lot of times, if you're looking at differentiating for students, you might have an assignment that looks a little bit different for some students than others. So if I click on that individually assign, I can now assign it to, so I have my one student, Janice, so she's the only one that will show up. But if I wanted to assign this to individual students, I could just type their names in here and it would only show up for those students. So right now it's just going to everyone, but you can specify students if you'd like. So once you click on that, you can't unclick it, but if you just leave it blank, it will go to everyone. The next option is the lock feature. So there is a lock, and then there's a couple things that all kind of sound the same. So I want to just talk a little bit about what these different things mean. So we have lock, we have submissions enabled, and then there's publish. So again, that publish just means, is it live for students or not? So if I click on published or unpublished, I can, if I just want to get it ready, I can always publish it later. Submissions enabled means that if you have that turned off, students can see it, but they can't actually submit any assignments. And then lock means that if you have this, if you turn on lock, it now shows up, there's an option to unlock or lock on or lock now. So if it's unlocked, it means that everyone can submit at any time. If I want it to be locked now, they won't be able to do anything. Or if I turn lock on, it means that they will have access until whatever date I pick. So I can say I want them to have access until a week from now, or whatever it might be. Let's see, let's just pick a date and time. So the difference between locked and submissions enabled is that locking means that once it's locked, students and teachers can still see everything that was submitted or whatever comments or anything that was done. Submissions enabled or disabled, if you turn off, if you disable this option, it means that you can no longer see, students or teachers can no longer see things that were submitted. So
but they could see the directions, right? So I'm thinking of this like, I'm going to give them an assignment, but I don't want them to rush through it and turn something in today. So I'm going to just let them look at it and turn off submissions until maybe Friday to make sure that students are understanding the assignment and doing quality work. Is that kind of what it is?
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. So almost like what you described was just saying, kind of using that submissions as if I disable it now, give them some time to think, give them some time to plan, whatever it is, and then a week from now I could turn it on, is a great way to use that feature.
I'm thinking like rough drafts, and I want them to submit their final copy and not the rough drafts.
Yeah, yep, that's a great way. Just know that if you have that open and then close it, if they have submitted things, they won't be able to see those submissions anymore. So just kind of, and if you, the Schoology, yesterday we talked about that support, so you can actually see it on my screen, it's at the bottom. There's a whole article in Schoology about the difference between lock and disable. So later on, if you're like, wait, remember something about lock versus, enabling submissions, there's a whole article that is a great, they kind of describe the difference. So later on,
I'm going to go ahead and find that article and put it into the chat.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Okay, so if I keep going over, so published to students, again, you can turn that on and off. Grade statistics disabled. This might be, I believe this is one that's, statistics are only available if you have the enterprise account, but this does show statistics to students, which I haven't played with a lot. So, but that is a kind of a fun option if it's available for you. And if you're interested in kind of showing students what kind of the statistics show up as, maybe they're doing a formative assessment or something, and they can see some stats. You can also turn on and off comments. So if you want students to be able to ask questions, engage with one another about the assignment, you can keep comments on. So when things are grayed out, it means that they're turned off. So just as a quick note there, so you can turn comments on. There is also, I can show you once we create this, where you can monitor kind of comments and discussions. But this might be you might find that you need to have that conversation with students about what kind of comments are appropriate, what's maybe inappropriate. Is this a space just to chat with your friends, or are we using this just for comments or questions about the assignment itself? So a good opportunity to have those conversations with your students. And then the last one is copy to courses. So if I have, again, I'm creating this in that section 1. So if I know that I want this to go over to section 2, I need to click on that copy to courses. And if I highlight that, click on that section 2, I can now make sure that it goes into both sections. So I could change, I just need to tell it what folder to go into, due date. So I'd want to just, if I want it to be exactly the same, I just need to duplicate the information that I put in.
Amy, since you're on this screen, could you talk a little bit about how did we get those categories?
Yeah, so let me...
or is that a gradebook thing that we'll be talking about tomorrow?
Yeah, it is a gradebook thing that we'll be talking about tomorrow. So I created those categories. So I didn't create a grade category for this. So each...
We can go into it more tomorrow, for sure.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, we'll talk more about categories, but you either create them or your district will create them for you. So we'll get into some more details on grading tomorrow. Okay, so it might not let me add this because I don't have, I'm just gonna uncheck this. But that's how you would add content to more than one section at a time if your courses are not linked. So from here, I'm gonna say create. And now that assignment, again, I can move this if I really did want it somewhere else. But it started out as published, but if I changed my mind, if I go into that settings wheel, I can unpublish. It asks me if I'm sure. And so if I'm not quite done working on it yet, or I don't want students to have access quite yet, I can unpublish and then only I can see it as the teacher. Okay, so let's look at add test and quiz is the next one. We're gonna go test and quiz is kind of a bulky topic, so we're gonna look at that tomorrow. So I'm just gonna go ahead and skip it. Feel free, you know, if you're tonight, you're kind of exploring, you can kind of play around in there and see what's there. But I wanna get to a couple more. When I go to, the next thing down is add file, link, or external tool. So if I click on this, I get the three options. So a file is just gonna open where I can attach files from my computer. So I can attach things, I can align them to a standard if I'd like. Then I have some of those same options before. So anytime you see the three little dots is individually assign, the little green circle is publish or unpublish, and then copy to courses. So the add file is pretty straightforward. So if you have files saved somewhere else, I'm going to go back. A link is just adding a link to some kind of content. So a link or URL. So maybe you want them to go watch a YouTube video. Maybe you want them to go to some outside resource. You can link that here, give it a title, and then your options, again, the three little dots, individually assign. If you want them to be sent into a different window, this is the option here. So this little, it looks like an ABC. So right now, if I hover over, it's gonna display within Schoology. So kids are gonna stay within the Schoology environment, but that URL, wherever you send them, is just gonna kind of show up in a window. So if I want them to actually open a new tab, I can unclick that and it says display in a new window. So it might not really matter to you, but if you want them to kind of stay within Schoology, you'll want this option turned on.
Can we see the student side of that?
Yep. So let's see. I'm going to just send them to, oh, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. Trying to find a good. Okay, so let's say I wanted to send them to another website. So I'll just use our AESD website as an example. So I'm going to copy this link. I think I cut it, but that's okay. And I'm going to send them. So this link, I'm going to paste that link into this box here. If I wanted to title it, I could. So I'm going to say display in Schoology just so we can see what this looks like. And I'm going to add. Okay, so it's at the very bottom of the page. So it has that little link symbol, so I know it's going to take them somewhere. So now I'm going to go up to course options. And if I want to see what this looks like for a student, remember this is where you can view course as. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. So I'm going to view this as Janice. So now I can see all of the, remember we talked about how I had unpublished a few things. So in between unit 2 and this link, there was a few things that as a teacher I had access to. As a student, I no longer see those because they're not published. But now, because I said that I wanted this link to show up in Schoology, so I'm a student, if I click on this, I still have all of the Schoology navigation tools, all of the materials, everything as a student that I need in Schoology, but that website shows up within the materials tab under Schoology.
That's really nice to not have students get distracted. I
Right.
found that when students go outside of the platform, it's sometimes hard for them to navigate back to Schoology.
Yes. Yes. So now from here, they can go, oh, yeah, okay, I was doing something for my class and I can go here as opposed to, you know, going wherever else they might go.
Going down the internet rabbit hole.
Yes, which is easy to do. We know that. So from here, if a student for some reason, you know, sometimes, especially if kids are working on a little bit smaller screen, this does make the screen a little bit smaller. So if they do need to expand, there's this little box with a little arrow kind of pointing out. This will pop them into the actual website itself. So if there is a need to go to the full screen, they can. But now they are on a whole different page. So they'd have to navigate. If I go back to the Schoology tab, they'd have to navigate back. So there is, even if you kind of keep them in Schoology, there is a way for them to get to the full screen. Okay, so now I'm still viewing this course as a student. So I'm going to go up at the very top, this little gray bar, it says go back to the course. So I'm going to do this so I can get back, so I can do all of my teacher editing and adding. Okay, so let's go back to add materials. A lot of these are just, they're really similar. So it's just kind of playing around and seeing. I just want to highlight a few more things. So I'm going to go back to this. So we've talked about file, we talked about link. External tool is an option that a lot of folks will get into other resources as well tomorrow. But this is kind of a fun, just like we added a link to another web page. If you have other tools that your district is encouraging you to use, you can use this feature to keep them again within Schoology. So one example that is kind of fun. So as a math teacher, you might be using Desmos. So I have kind of one handy here. So let's say I have an activity in Desmos. And if you're not familiar with Desmos and this is kind of a lot, don't worry. It's okay if this isn't something that you're going to use, that's fine. But if I'm in Desmos and I create a class code, so I maybe in the past have just kind of sent them to, I want to view dashboard. So this is going to give me a link that I would normally somehow provide to students. Maybe I emailed or maybe I had to type it in. But if I copy this link and I put this in, you'll see what it looks like once we get it in here. So I'm going to do title, maybe it's a Desmos turtles. I think I just clicked something that looked kind of fun. And then the URL I'm going to paste into the box here. Consumer key, and this is where people kind of get nervous. So if it's something that, and it's hard to, there's a whole bunch that are or aren't. Some providers will require, if there's something that costs money or like a subscription, they might, as you try to do this, it'll block you and say that you need a consumer key and a shared secret, which sounds kind of ominous, but this is really just your, if it asks for that and it's a tool that your district has purchased, your district IT folks will help you with the, they can set it all up so you don't have to answer these questions yourself. You can also enable grading. So if I want them to go to Desmos and I want to grade that they've completed that, I can do put in the grading options here. I'm going to leave that unchecked for now. And again, I can also assign this to individual students. So I'm just going to say submit so we can see what this looks like. So now this little symbol tells me it's an external tool. When students click on this, it opens Desmos right within Schoology. So just like how we sent them to a website internal to Schoology, I can have them do Desmos or any other, some of those other tools that you might be using. I can have them do it right inside Schoology so they still have all of their course materials available to them that are nice and handy.
I love that feature, especially for our little students who may get lost within Schoology.
Yeah, so a lot of teachers choose to build as much as they can, build everything within Schoology so that for especially littles and parents, we know that some of those, they're going all over the place. It's hard to manage. So anything that you can keep within Schoology is really nice just for everyone's sanity. So I'm going to go back to materials so I can kind of keep looking at some options. So from here, if I go back to add materials, I want to, page is a nice way to just add content that isn't specific necessarily to anything. So I've actually already added a page. So I'll just open this up so we can see what options there are. So this looks a little bit like just almost like a Word document or a Google Doc. So you can add all the, whatever you want to let students know. They have all the same features of inserting content. There's also one thing I didn't point out, but it is on a lot of the other options, is down at the bottom, you can attach. So if you go up to the top and insert content, it does it inline, so it's within the text. You can also attach things that show up at the bottom using the features down below. So I can attach a file. I can attach a link. resource. So that goes over to your resources that we kind of dabbled in a little bit earlier. There's also, this is the one I wanted to highlight, this little microphone is an audio video recording within Schoology. So you might have access to a different video recording tool, but if you'd prefer, you can just use recording right within Schoology. So you can do audio only. I know some of those mornings where I just didn't have time to get ready. Maybe I just wanted to do an audio only recording, but you can do audio and video as well. So you can record right within Schoology, which is nice and handy.
Can I also do that inline? So is that one of the options in inline? Because I know some people are thinking about building out buttons and putting images in here to make this more user-friendly for our littles. So is the record feature inline? It looks like it's not.
It's not, I believe, and this is, I have not dabbled with the HTML. If you're someone that knows HTML and you're really good at building content, I believe you can do some inline stuff because you're really kind of building it on your own as opposed to using the structure in Schoology. So if you're someone that's ready to do all of that, you might play around in the HTML versus the kind of more structured Schoology format.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Okay, so we'll kind of come back to some of this tomorrow. One other thing I wanted to just point out before we just have a few minutes left, is there is a way to do completion rules. So sometimes if you're a teacher that you really kind of want your students to go through some of these materials really kind of at a self-paced, if you go up to options, there is this option right above saving to resources for student completion. So I'm just going to open this so we can look at it real quick. So set student completion rules. So if I add a requirement, I can say that for Unit 1, members must complete all assignments. So if there's things like pages or just resources, they might be different, but if you have assigned things or have tasks for them, they have to complete everything for Unit 1. I can add another requirement that for Unit 2, they must complete. So if there's some units that maybe you're not as worried about, or they can do in a different order or something, you know, you could leave off units, but if there's things that you certainly want them to complete, you can add these for the whole course. So I'm going to say save. Some of you might be asking, I think I'll know the next question. Once I'm in, so I've said they have to complete Unit 1 and 2, and now there's that little checkbox where it says must complete. So as students are working, little checkboxes would appear as they complete things. And then within each unit, if I open that unit, I can go to options and student completion. Requirements must be completed in sequential order. So sometimes people want this option, and I can add requirements to say, maybe normally the quiz, maybe you have a quiz at the very beginning, you know, a pre-assessment and the post. So you could say, excuse me, for quiz 1, members must, and then you have some options. So is it resources that you want them to view? You can make that a requirement. Maybe it's a discussion that you want them, they need to post a comment or reply before they can move on. Make a submission or score a test. So there's all these kind of, you know, if you're building some really self-directed courses, this is a nice way just to kind of keep students on track and make sure that, you know, instead of trying to skip to the end, maybe there's something that you really want them to do before they move on. So this will just let it, so everything's open, but they won't be able to move on until they do, you know, whatever things that you've put in order up here. So just kind of a nice way to kind of keep students on track. If that's something, you don't have to use this, but it is a nice feature if that's something that interests you. Okay, so we did not get into the resources a lot, so I'm going to move that originally was on our to-do. So you will have access to this slide deck. I think it's already been put in the chat. We might be able to put it in one more time. There was some questions yesterday, and this always comes up, is this, if your district has decided to use Schoology even for littles, it's a lot. So there are some great Schoology resources on their blog and their support center for using Schoology for littles. So I've included a couple links here, and we'll get into some more resources tomorrow, but just wanted to, for those of you that are a little bit nervous about, you know, some of the littles, there's some resources there.
And we know that there's some questions that we haven't answered specifically about length of video and can students record videos. We'll get more into that tomorrow. So hold tight, we will get you.
So we ask you to do a quick, yesterday's, this is a slightly different reflection, but we ask you to, we'll throw this in the chat. But if you can take our day 2 reflection, that would be wonderful. You can also, if you hold your camera up, most cameras, if you hover over a QR code with your camera on, it knows what to do and it will take you to that website, or you can use the link in the chat. And then tonight, I'll come back to this page just so if you need it. But tonight, if we ask you to explore, decide and begin setting up an organizational structure. Remember, you can use that sandbox and then save resources so that once you have your formal class, you can add things. Add an assignment and discussion. And then if you want to dabble with resources, you could kind of play around in there. But we will get into resources more tomorrow. So part 3, day 3 continues tomorrow, same time, same Zoom information. And we're so happy you were able to join us for day 2 and looking forward to tomorrow. So I'll go back to this page just in case anyone needs it.
And I went ahead and placed the slide deck from yesterday in the chat. So you'll want to grab that before you leave this room.
Thank you. Yeah, and all of these materials will be available at the end too. So if you're, if you've got, you know, having issues saving them, don't worry, we'll get them to you at the very end as well. All right, thank you everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.